JonTron and Yooka-Laylee, The Ends versus the Means, by Ludwig von Koopa. What do we think of this moral dilemma? And on one corner, we have the forces of JonTron and the alt-right. And on the other corner, there's the game developer Playtonic and the radical leftist video game board NeoGAF. The current controversy of the week is this. Popular YouTuber JonTron, who has 3 million subscribers on YouTube, it's unknown how many of them are actually active, said really dumb, questionable, noble but poorly articulated things in a political debate about culture, immigration, and race, with some left-wing guy. The substance of that issue doesn't matter to this discussion, but the end result is that JonTron, who's a bad entertainer, tried pretending like he's some kind of political thinker and it backfired. As a result, it divided his fanbase, us, up. This article isn't about YouTuber drama, because no one on this site cares about that garbage. What does matter is that KoopaTV staffers have been warning about how JonTron is bad news in the industry, with particular interest on his voice actor role for Playtonic, made up of former Rare Ltd developers, Kickstarter game Yooka-Laylee, which releases this April 11th. Here are some prescient quotes from June 2016 from KoopaTV's Rock Hawk 2010. Anyone who associates with JonTron and his ilk is strictly limited in how far they can take criticisms on morality and ethics, and it may be that criticism on morality and ethics are a bigger part of Yooka-Laylee than anyone ever would have thunk. And really, is a Rare removed from Microsoft's clutches really any freer than a Rare growing for the likes of JonTron and his minions? Nah, not if you've seen what I've seen. Now I still haven't gotten to the main point. So what if a voice actor doing mumbles for an indie game has politically incorrect views? Well, not everyone has a high tolerance for letting things go and not escalating them into a big problem. Enter notorious fascist video game forum NeoGAF, eloquently described by myself before as a hotbed bubble of extremism that lashes out at the slightest injustice around. What could be more unjust than allowing a guy with unpopular political views to voice act some mumbles in Yooka-Laylee? Well, they were outraged, as usual, according to Rockhawk 2010, since he follows this crap and I don't. Several NeoGAF members began complaining about JonTron's presence in the game post-debate in the designated Yooka-Laylee thread, which Playtonic staffers read. They watched JonTron's voice patched out on day 1 of Yooka-Laylee's release. To be fair, not every NeoGAF member went along with this, but at least one of them was apparently banned for disagreeing with this outrage. I guess they started tweeting at various Playtonic staffers over Twitter, which may or may not be why those staffers have protected their Twitter accounts from public viewing. Later that same day, Playtonic announced the removal of JonTron's mumbles from Yooka-Laylee. There's currently a NeoGAF thread of dozens and dozens of pages of posts celebrating this outcome. So, NeoGAF and anyone who sympathizes with them have won, and JonTron's voice acting, however limited it would be, won't be in the game. Props to Playtonic for trying to have lower costs in voice acting than a certain other Kickstarter game, I guess. But apparently, they need to be careful of whom they hire. This has a precedent where radical whiners will background check every single person involved in a game's credits for ideological differences from their accepted standard. Communist and voice actor union SAG-AFTRA will, of course, be deemed acceptable. Here's Playtonic for their explanation of their actions. However, in light of JonTron's recent personal viewpoints, we have made the decision to remove JonTron's inclusion in the game via a forthcoming content update. We would like to make absolutely clear that we do not endorse or support JonTron's personal viewpoints and that, as an external fan contributor, it does not represent Playtonic in any capacity. Playtonic is a studio that celebrates diversity in all forms and strives to make games that everyone can enjoy. As such, we deeply regret any implied association that can make players feel anything but 100% comfortable. The implication is this: we support diversity in all forms unless it's diversity we disagree with. In other words, the same discredited diversity myth garbage plaguing the rest of the video game industry. The end result is an industry-wide bubble of thought where non-leftists can't find employment and have to move on to other industries. We're not yet at that end result. The majority of people don't care either way and are apathetic. If NeoGAF is left to its devices though, they'll be treating those people as the enemy as well. KoopaTV has opposed this kind of behavior from NeoGAF and other sources many times in the past, be it their campaigns against Scalded Games, or against Palmer Lucky, or even when they created the hashtag #MeQuality hate movement. However, I've expressed some regret defending Scalded Games given their post-article behavior, so I certainly don't want to be seen as defending JonTron given all the historic and well-deserved animosity he's garnered from KoopaTV. After this decision, alt-writers began flooding and concern trolling anywhere they could. So, not NeoGAF, but say Twitter, which is the other possible reason that Playtonic's employees have protected their Twitter accounts from being viewed by the public, and Steam's forums and whatever. About JonTron. Now, people are saying that Playtonic was stupid for offending JonTron's massive 3 million strong user base, which literally goes back to Rock's quote I pulled for this article's beginning about JonTron and his minions preventing Playtonic's freedom. It's basically blackmail, and that's not right either. Concerned trolls are trying to get refunds in their Kickstarter pledges because they feel misled into backing it since JonTron will be voicing a minor character. Some of these have reportedly been deleted from existence by Playtonic paid moderators, so they're doing a bad job getting rid of the piles of outright garbage currently on Yooka-Laylee's Steam board. One notable image was passed around of someone named Ilacera apparently being banned for asking for a refund on said board, but that's fake news. It was actually banned for directly arguing with and attacking the board's moderator with outright lines of dialogue. The end result of JonTron being disassociated is good, because JonTron should have never been involved with Yooka-Laylee to begin with. The memes are terrible because it's the same fascist-like tactics I've been decrying on TV for years and years. So, do the ends justify the means in this instance? If the answer to that is yes, then is KoopaTV selling out our "the ends don't justify the means" stance we took when we associated Hillary Clinton with the ends justify the means? I prefer to avoid justified judgments of hypocrisy. Therefore, the ends don't justify the means. The method in which JonTron, a bad man, and an even worse entertainer, was removed was so heinous that I'd rather he be in Yooka-Laylee than not. Yes, I refuse to side with NeoGAF and its radical far-left allies here. But don't think for a moment I'm siding with those outright kooks, or even worse, with a JonTron fanbase. By the way, come mid-April, we're going to talk about Yooka-Laylee as a video game, not as a culture war battlefield. It's not looking too hot. That's when I'll finally fulfill that Yooka-Laylee-inspired request. But as a preview to that, I do think there is a big difference between being upset that Yooka-Laylee was cancelled for the Wii U after its promise to be released for the Wii U, and being upset that JonTron's mumbles for a minor character are being removed. Where there is a connection between the two is total failure of Playtonic as a company to control itself, its marketing message, and whatever internal processes it's supposed to have. Stay tuned. Ludwig uncontrollably cringes when he even has to look at JonTron, much less listen or watch him. That's why there aren't any images of JonTron in this article, but a bunch of images of other people's words about JonTron. He wasn't a backer of Yooka-Laylee, but Rockhawk 2010 is, and give him props for his spot-on prediction. Ludwig and KoopaTV are big into free speech, but also big into the rights of companies to have at-will employment contracts. Whatever contractual arrangement exists between JonTron and Playtonic is unknown.
Yeah.